I think we're falling to Earth. Um, Magazine Dreams. I never even heard of it. Is it a real movie? Yeah, it is. 2023. Jonathan Majors. 82% Rotten Tomatoes. A man looks after his ailing grandfather while trying to make it in the world of professional bodybuilding. I don't know if Jonathan Majors can make it. He's not really jacked enough, really, to be a bodybuilder. Um, is Magazine Dreams ever coming out? I think it's come out already, 2023. Never even heard of it. It must be one of his Backrooms movies. Um, Jonathan Majors, movies and shows. 2023. That was the same year that Creed 3 came out. Isn't that weird? 2023, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Um, so he hasn't had anything since then, since Magazine Dreams. What a stupid name, Magazine Dreams. That is so weird. This is the stupidest movie name I've ever heard in my life. Mike O'Hearn was in it. What do you know? Well, I feel sick, guys. I kind of feel sick. Michael B. Jordan trashed for Jonathan Majors. Y'all are blanket statementing. Marvel breaking. Marvel talks Kang recasting now confirmed. Jonathan Majors can return now. Of course he can. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Baby, come back. 82 out of 100. Wow. All of his films got really high scores. Most of them did. Da Five Bloods. Never heard of that one either. Devotion. Never heard of that. I know Mr. Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains. Right? That's his name. He Who Remains. Yep. AKA Kang the Conqueror, but I know him as He Who Remains. He Who Remains. We have now passed the threshold. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see if I can find it. Oh yeah, I found it. Oh no. We just crossed the threshold. Here it is. Y'all want the multiverse? I think we heard that. Y'all think the multiverse is going to save you? I read some really questionable reading materials when I was a child. Um, First of all, I don't remember being 9 years old, okay? Like at all. That year was just like completely blank. So I don't think I was ever 9 years old. Um, and didn't I become president when I was 10 years old? Lisa Simpson. Does that ring a bell to anybody? Um, what do I want to say? Do I want to make another coffee? I'm already out of coffee. I had a dream last night. I was with Chris Evans. I was with Chris Evans, and I was at an event with him. And like there were lots of moving around in a crowd, and like I had to like stick with Chris. I had to like make sure I didn't lose Chris in the crowd. It was like sort of like that, like a line, and like moving through the line, and like making sure I stuck with Chris like that. And I was talking to him, but I didn't feel like super comfortable talking to him for some reason. So like I would open up a little bit and then I would shut up. And then I kept kissing him or whatever, but he was like shy about it. He was just like, "Is this really happening?" And I was like, "Yes, Chris, it's me. It's Alyssa." And even though I tell him everything and he's my bestie and I finally got to be with him, I was sort of like, I have to play it cool and impress him. But I kept kissing him and he said, "Okay, Alyssa, I get it. You're cool, you're funny, you're pretty, etc., etc." So he was acting like that with me. And I was just like, "Am I cool and pretty and funny?" Chris, like, why are you acting like that with me? And and then he left and it was sort of like a pool. It was like sort of like a pool day too, like a gigantic pool. And he left and I was sitting on a platform with like a bunch of women, a bunch of people, a bunch of women. And then Alba came downstairs to me and found me. And then she sat next to me and she put her arm around me and she gave me a kiss on this cheek. And she was like, "Respect the dead." And I got so angry at her for saying that to me because, like, who the hell's Alba anyway? And then why is she telling me to respect the dead when, like, you're clearly alive, Alba, so I don't know why you're telling me to respect the dead. Like, are you a dead ghost and like you don't want to tell anybody? But you literally told me with her mouth. She didn't say that in telepathy. She said it with her mouth. She said respect the dead. And it made me so angry at her. I pushed her off of the platform that we were on, and it was like a kind of a high platform, like 4 or 5 feet, and I pushed her off onto the ground. And obviously, this was in a dream. And then she looked up at me and she was like, "There's no way she has this much confidence. There's no way she has this much confidence." And she was like freaking out about it. And like Chris was like, hold on, my notes deleted themselves. Chris was like, Chris said, she said she'd do this. Like he was upstairs, I think, in his apartment or whatever hotel room with Alba. And he was looking at Alba and he was like, "She said she would do this." And he started crying. Um, that I would start bilocating and cleaning the timelines and grabbing the pieces of us if we don't get along with the plan, is what I told Chris. And he started crying and he like sort of went into shock and then he like passed out in bed, like fell asleep. And then she came downstairs and she did that. And Alba was like, "There's no way she has this much confidence." Oh, um, so I think we're falling to Earth, and I might be bilocating on planet Earth right now. So, and I'm wondering why I picked cigarettes over my. This is what Adam got me yesterday. I've already smoked like 5 of them. And I'm wondering why I just didn't get my little freaking nicotine pouches because I like them better, but they were giving me so much anxiety that I was like, let me get a pack of cigarettes instead. For some reason, the nicotine pouches were giving me like a ton of anxiety. So, um, I had so much anxiety yesterday. I have to pull my money out and move forward and go forward with Sedona, and I don't want to do that. I'm supposed to be supported right now by internal representatives, and they're supposed to come forward and give me some money, and they are choosing to fall for it instead, and it's freaking us all out. And um, my dad will tell me when to pull money out or not, and he told me to just wait another day, and because the aliens are trying to make their point right now, and so he's like, if the aliens can't make their point, we have a problem. Um, so that's where we're at, sort of. And um, yeah, so I read some questionable reading materials when I was a kid, and I was like, it came to me when I was laying in bed last night, like, oh, you read all these, like, I think it's called like smut. I think that genre of book is called smut, and it's like really like grotesque stories, really grotesque books I read when I was literally a child with my best friend at the time. And we would read it in the back of cars, like going places. And like, we loved these books, and they were just obviously not for children. They were obviously not for children. But I think if I talked about like what went on in those like grotesque situations and torture, and I think that's called smut. And it was like a popular genre during the time. And like, like what possesses you to let your kid read stuff like that? And like, there was more than one book. Like, she would get like another book and be like, oh yes, there's another book for us to read. And it was just like, it was like you guys know Clockwork Orange, the movie. It was sort of like Clockwork Orange type situations, but in a book form, in book format. And it was just like, why are we reading these like as like literal kids, like not even teenagers, like literal children? And like, why aren't we reading the classics or like something like, more classy, or something like Goosebumps? Or why aren't I reading Babysitters? Like, I loved Babysitter's Club. Do you guys remember that book? That was like what I read in my house. That was literally what I read here in my house, was Babysitter's Club. It was my favorite. And then Megan, my bestie, had another, Sweet Valley High, and that was her favorite. And so sometimes I'd read Sweet Valley High, but I didn't like it as much as Babysitter's Club was my jam. But Meg loved Sweet Valley High, so sometimes we would read Sweet Valley High, but she always read Sweet Valley High. And Babysitter's Club was like my absolute favorite, and I had the entire collection of Babysitter's Club, like literally, like all of them. That was like my favorite. That's what I literally read here, was Babysitter's Club. And I was like, I'm gonna start a Babysitter's Club when I'm 11 or something. And um, and I did start babysitting kids, but I didn't have really a Babysitter's Club, unfortunately. It was just me. It was just me and like kids with like their parents in jail, and I'm literally not joking. I'm literally not joking. I had like these kids that I would babysit like 5 minutes away, like over there, and like their dad was literally in jail. And yeah, and I would like babysit them. I think like after school, I would go over there after school and like watch them, and we'd play Mortal Kombat together and like make them mac and cheese or whatever. And it was like, I think it was like three boys, and they were like rowdy AF, like super super rowdy. And but yeah, so I definitely did not read that kind of stuff in this house. That would not have been allowed in this house, like that kind of stuff, but it was allowed with like another random friend. Because like, who gives your kids like that kind of stuff to read? It's like crazy. Like, I just remember this one scene from the book. It like really stuck with me. Like I feel like if I even talk about this, people are gonna be like, "Oh my God," and like turn this off like right away. Like it's that bad. And like we loved those books, which was insane, which is totally insane. I feel like if I talk to anybody about these books now, they'd be like, "I don't want to hear any more of this. Stop talking about it." It's just that's literally terrifying, Alyssa. Like I don't want to hear anymore. There's this one part where like the person in the book, I think it was a man, but I don't know, but the person in the book was torturing these two children in the book, and he put like a safety pin. I don't think they had pierced ears. He put like a safety pin in like their two ears so that they were close together, and he would come home and he would pull them apart to torture them. Like obviously like that would hurt very bad if you had a safety pin in your ear with another person and you're being pulled apart with the safety pin in your ear. Like that's clearly awful and clearly very torturous. And I just remember that one part in the book, and it was just being like, that's literally awful. And the whole book, I mean, that's what I mean. Like it's sort of like Clockwork Orange in a book. Um, it's definitely not like Mortal Kombat in a book, but thank you very much for your input. Like it's just like Mortal Kombat in a book. Like no, it's not. Talking about literally humans like doing flabbergasting things to other humans in a book, and like why was that available to read, and I'm literally at home being a wholesome child reading Babysitter's Club. Claudia and Stacy, you guys remember Claudia and Stacy from Babysitter's Club? They were like my favorites. I loved Claudia and I loved Stacy. Claudia was Asian just like me. I loved her. It's like boy crazy Stacy. Claudia and the Phantom Phone Calls. That this is the one I read with the book cover I read. Oh, can you see it? Yeah. But I was just like loved these books. Like I was so wholesome. What was I doing, guys? Oh my God, look at the drawings now. They're awful. Ew. What awful drawings. I loved the paintings of the covers back then. These are awful. Look at how awesome it is. Claudia and the Great Search. Babysitter's Club. Oh yeah. She was a California girl. Boy crazy Stacy. Literally such a good fucking book and such good cover art. It basically inspired me to become an artist. The Babysitters Club covers. I was like, I love this art. I'm gonna paint stuff like that. So, yeah, like what the fuck was that? Like, what a dark childhood. What a dark, grim childhood to like have your kids read stuff like that, you know? Like, talk about like wanting to monitor who your friends hang out with. Like, I swear, like, if I ever brought like a book like that home, they would literally freak out and tell me, like, you can't ever hang out with her ever again. Like, that would have never flown in this household. Um, yeah. just crazy to me. Like, and I feel like we would read it in like the back of like a station wagon. You guys remember stations wagons with like the third seat? That's like dangerous. I feel like we would read it in the back of a station wagon. But yeah, talk about embarrassing. Like, how embarrassing. Like, so embarrassing. And we would just like eat that like stuff up. Like, what the fuck is wrong with us? Like, literally, like, what the fuck is wrong with us? Um, and I never once was like, I'm going home and like reading Babysitter's Club. Like, I just was like, oh yeah, like let's read more of those like crazy, weird books that you steal from your mom. Like, what the fuck was wrong with us? Like, we're into advanced literature as like 10-year olds, as literal 10-year olds. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, I think that, you know, that was definitely the start of like falling to Pluto and like not accepting that like energy's real. Like, energy's the only thing that's real. Is energy the only thing that's real, or is Alyssa the only thing that's real? I mean, you might want to start there, superhero household. Where does your energy come from? Does it come from Jesus Christ? Are y'all up in church thanking Jesus Christ for your energy? This is crazy, isn't it? This is so crazy. But that was like my big insight. Oh, and then like I went back into the dream with Chris and Alba, and I think I was in Chris's body. I don't know, but I basically like I became like really hairy. Like, I pulled down my pants and I was like, like changing my clothes or something in the dream, and I was like super hairy, like all like dark black hair like all over my legs and stuff, and I was like, we're gonna have to give the models razors. I don't know like why I'm giving models razors because I'm suddenly hairy, but like that was like the idea in the dream. Like, why am I suddenly like I'm blonde? I'm covered with blonde hair, in case you're wondering. See, I look like I'm hairless, but I actually have very long hair. But you can't see it because it's all blonde. So I had like the same hair, but it was like black and it was like all over like my legs and my thighs. And I was like, why am I so hairy now? But anyway, yeah. See, I look hairless, but I'm not. It's very hairy. It's actually very hairy. Same with my face, covered in blonde hair. Can't see it. It kind of looks thinner. I feel like it was thicker when I was a kid, but it might not have been. Um, yeah, okay. You know, I hate that screen time. Fucking, I hate that screen time thing. Like, y'all know I have no life. Why use like? First of all, I turn on my thing at night, so I already have 8 hours when I'm sleeping because I turn on YouTube at night to listen to music. So it's like I don't want to see my screen time thing, my notification. And I don't feel like figuring out how to turn off like screen time notifications. Like, notifications turn off screen time. Like, okay, I hear you, but like it's just annoying. Like, it should just update itself. Like, who the fuck wants to see that? Who wants to see their screen time? Does anyone in the world actually want to see their screen time? I don't think so. And I sit on my phone all day and I play my video game and then I put on YouTube at night. So it's like, oh, screen time's up. Like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I'm talking out loud and you guys hear me and all your thoughts come from me. So you hear me pretty clearly. Um, yeah. Yeah. So, yes, is her dad working towards a plan? I'm pretty sure I just said that. It's a plan to pull back my pieces that aren't adhering to the plan. And I don't have full, um, clearance on that plan yet because it's something that my dads are going over, but I know that now, and um, they know the plan. So they know how it works. And I already told you it's to pull my pieces back. Didn't I just say that? I've said it like 5 times. The plan is to pull my pieces back. The plan is to pull my pieces back. The plan is you can't marry Jason Momoa. All right? Did I say that? There's supposed to be a house dedicated to me and Jason Momoa, and it was basically like an assertion of giving back capitalism to me and Jason and to start the Aquarian Age, and it was never um, fully seen through. And the house was sold to capitalism instead. It was sold to capitalism, and now capitalism is being haunted because your capitalism's fighting me. And instead of dedicating the house to me and Jason Momoa, you're dedicating the house back to capitalism. So capitalism is getting um, occultism 101 because of it. Does that make sense? Or do I have to explain that further? That's why capitalism's being haunted, because you're refusing to give me back my pieces. So I'm going to take back my pieces. Does that make sense? I feel like you still have questions. Am I not being clear? Does that make sense? Or do I, maybe take notes and write it down and like suss it out with yourself? Maybe write down an outline and like suss it out with yourself if you have to like flesh it out, like in your, on your lunch break or, one of your 15-minute breaks or something like that. You can do that. But hopefully that makes sense because I've explained it like 5 or 6 times already. And I feel like you're wasting Becky's time who understands the plan. Does that make sense? Is smut allowed in grade school, in school? Is it allowed in school? Does that make sense? Does that make sense, guys? You know, are you not listening to us that the dwarf sun is actually Pluto? Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense, guys? You're about to be Alyssa clone for good. Does that make sense, guys? Some of you are about to be a Brandon Lee clone. There's about to be a lot of Brandon Lee clones, and you're going to be like, I claim that I am his actual son. Does that make sense, guys? And you're not his actual son. Does that make sense? Just because you're a clone doesn't mean you're actually Brandon Lee's son. Does that make sense, guys? Well, I'm pretty sure that means that I'm have access to my clothes and they're just my clothes and I have access to them. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? Do you need me to explain it to you more? We have a tutor. We'll probably have a tutor to explain it to you. I think the best order of the day would be like, please allow Jason Momoa to come over and pick up Alyssa and bring them to their allotted land and let them restore and take over the house via their will, via Electric Avenue. I think that would be like, that would be like the right order of things, but and that's probably why like your brain is all mixed up, like, oh my god, like what does she mean? Because you're not listening to like the correct order of things. Does that make sense? Or do you need Rion to Google some fancy words for you again. Does that make sense? I feel like it doesn't make sense. I feel like there's more questions. Like, can you please go over it again with the class, Alyssa, what the plan is? The plan is to pull my pieces back. You can't have my pieces. What does that mean, though, Alyssa, to pull your pieces back? It means you're not allowed to marry Jason Momoa. I've already said this, but I'll say it again. That means they're going to turn into synthetic pieces, and then I'm going to have my organic pieces, and it's just going to be like a robot version. It's just a robot. That's all you get to marry is a robot. And I remember, dude, I totally remember like talking about this, which is crazy and funny at the same time. You guys, do you want to see me wear my stripper earrings, guys? Are you interested in the savior being a stripper, guys? Are you? Are you still interested in the savior being a stripper? So, I forgot what I was gonna say now. Like, I can't do that because there's like too many wrinkles. Did my dad just delete them? You guys, does that make sense? You guys. You guys. You guys. Can we go get our makeup done for glam? You guys. I really want to go get my makeup done for glam. You guys. You guys. You guys. Why? Why are we doing this to ourselves, Alyssa? Why? What did she say? Rise and shine. You guys, do you want breakfast? Kim's like, um, what in the world were you thinking, Alyssa, reading Magazine Dreams as a child? That's like totally something else, isn't it, Kim? Okay. Um, okay, so I'm marrying myself or I'm taking back my pieces. That's what's going on here, okay? Haven't you heard my dad say you really need to give her her husband? It's really not a joke and it's really not a negotiation. You literally have to give her back her husband. It's just not a negotiation at all. Um, so that would have to do with the plan and like bilocating and like cleaning the timelines of Earth and like being with our family embodied as opposed to like that's called a soul code and not like a demon code. Before we were doing the demon codes like hello Earth, stop please, we are literal demons. And now we're like hello Earth, please stop, the only thing that's real is the soul. Dreamcatcher is a very good name for a movie. Magazine Dreams is a very stupid name. Magazine Dreamcatcher. That's more inspiring. Okay. I really wanted to say something. I totally forgot what the fuck it was. I was like, no, she cannot be this confident. No. Like, what are you talking about, Alba? Like, what drugs are you on? Like, literally, what drugs are you on, Alba? Like, it's just like, what are we doing? Like, she's like, it's me and my husband. Look, it's me and my husband. Um, you guys, I have rock hard abs. What was I gonna say, you guys? I totally forget. There's only one person, right? So, and you're just like not listening, and you're just like, I loved it when she read. Like, not a single person heard that. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Does your room smell like cat pee? Does your if you read smut as a child, I'm pretty sure that your room smells like cat pee right now. Your room literally your room literally smells like cat pee and like you can't escape the smell as it's like a super clean Pleiadian's room that like can't get rid of the smell for like the life of her. And you know, and she's just like, I clean and I clean. I just don't know if I'm making myself clear or not, you guys. I think we've had enough. Really, really, truly, we've literally had enough. I could be in San Tropez right now with Thor, and yet I'm here in an infinity pool with no Alba Batista in sight. And yet I'm here, hearing her worry over walls that I'm going to have that much confidence. Like, wow. What a great life I have, you guys. I mean, what else do you guys want me to say? There was something else I was going to say, and of course I forgot it. What else did I see? Did I see anything else crazy when I was falling asleep or waking up this morning? Um, so it's Infinity War right now. I don't know. We've had Infinity War so many times. Do we really need to have Infinity War again, Chris Evans? Like, I guess because it's called Infinity, it's like, oh, here we go again. Infinity. We're going on. It's like, we've had Infinity War so many times. These are my ladies. Do you see anything you like? You know, like, your mom's pretty nice. You might need some friends. I don't know. You might need some friends to grow up with your own age. These are my ladies. Why don't you take a look and see which one you want to hang out with today? Um, yeah, I believe that would be an escalation of war by NATO against the USA. Did you guys hear that? I think you heard that. But they basically said, in case you didn't hear it, in case you couldn't hear it through the microphone, they said that there's a Norwegian shipping something fueling thing that's not going to fuel American ships anymore, and they're encouraging all of Europe to follow suit because of the humiliation ritual that they gave Zelensky in the Oval Office. Um, I believe that would be NATO going against the USA, the escalation of war of NATO going against the USA, since it's Norway and Norway's NATO. If you know, you know, Norway and Sweden. I think did Sweden just join? But anyway, it's basically a Scandinavian. NATO is basically a Scandinavian-based military company. I know you like, oh no, it's all of Europe and USA, blah blah. Like, just be quiet because you literally don't understand history and you don't understand how the world works. Okay, so just be quiet, alpha males. Just be quiet because you're wrong. You're just wrong. Okay. um. So because I think that Trump wants to leave NATO. It's like, when you like go into something and then like you just get like by like the scorpion. I think that's like what Trump did to Zelensky. And it's like out of nowhere, sort of like a rug pull out of nowhere, where it's just like, whoa, dude, like what the hell? Like, why are you going off on me like this? Obviously, he felt forced to do that in political terms, but I think that he wants to pull out of the war. I think that Trump wants to pull out of the war. I think he wants to pull out of NATO altogether. And I think he actually wants to ally with Russia, which will be really crazy and confusing for the USA if like we vote like for like a Democrat next time and then they like join NATO and then we vote for a Republican and they're like, we're out of NATO, we're joining Russia. Um, but clearly NATO's pissed off, clearly Norway's pissed off, and they're thinking about how to take care of it from a political standpoint instead of just outright war, instead of NATO just being like, well, why don't you just pull out of NATO then? Which would be like more aggressive, which would be seen as like conflict, um, because clearly that was like crazy. And I'm not saying that I agree with either side. I'm not saying that I agree with Zelensky or that I agree with Trump. I'm saying that it all roots down to the princess and not respecting the princess, and they're both doing their job. That's what I'm basically saying. But and if you guys can't recognize that by now, then you are an idiot, and you're probably an alpha male that wants to debate me about stupid NATO or whatever like that. You want to like, it's like maybe you should, watch Vikings or something. Like maybe you should do some history research as to how, um, the Vikings came into power and how they're still in power to this day. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you just can't link things together via history. So, yeah. So, yeah. So if he pulls out of NATO, pulls out of the war, pulls out of funding the war, pulls out of funding Zelensky, I wouldn't be surprised. And if he pulls out of NATO, I wouldn't be surprised. And if he starts funding Russia, I wouldn't be surprised because what is the American public doing? Thinking about themselves? You're not going to like say anything until it affects your life. I don't know. I might not know what I'm talking about, right? I'm just a woman. I'm just a pretty woman.